Nandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharia Ashtotara Satashishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Saṁsthāpya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, 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 all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, in the matter of Vidura's talks with Maitreya, Text 5. Karoti, karmāṇi, kṛtāvatāro, yāni, ātma-tantro, bhagavāṁs, tryadhīśaḥ, yathā, sasarjāgra, idam, nirīhaḥ, saṁsthāpya, vṛttiṁ, jagato, vidhatte, karoti karmāṇi kṛtāvatāro, yāni ātma-tantro bhagavāṁs tri-adhīśaḥ, यथा ससर्जाग्र इदं निरीहा संस्थाप्य वृत्तिं जगतो विदत्ते करोति कर्माणि कृतावतारो यानि ātma-tantro bhagavāṁs त्रयादिशः यथा ससर्जाग्र इदं निरीहा संस्थाप्य वृत्तिं जगतो विदत्ते करोति कर्माणि कृतावतारो यानि ātma-tantro bhagavāṁs त्रयादिशः यथा ससर्जाग्र इदं निरीहा संस्थाप्य वृत्तिं जगतो विदत्ते ātma-tantro bhagavāṁs त्रयादिशः agre idam nirīhaḥ sasarjāgra idam nirīhaḥ saṁsthāpya vṛttiṁ jagato vidhatte. Ladies, karoti karmāṇi kṛtāvatāro yāni ātma-tantro bhagavāṁs tryadhīśaḥ yathā sasarjāgra idam nirīhaḥ saṁsthāpya vṛttiṁ jagato vidhatte karoti karmāṇi kṛtāvatāro yāni ātma-tantro bhagavāṁs त्रयादिशः sasarjāgra idam nirīhaḥ vṛttim jagato vidhatte. Karoti, does them. Karmāṇi, transcendental activities. Kṛta, by accepting. Avatāraḥ, incarnations. Yāni, all those ātma-tantraḥ, self-independent, bhagavān, the personality of Godhead, tri-adhīśaḥ, the Lord of the three worlds, yathā, as much as, sasarja, created, agre, at first, idam, this cosmic manifestation, nirīhaḥ, although desireless, saṁsthāpya, by establishing, vṛttim, means of livelihood, jagato, of the universes, vidhatte, as he regulates. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O great sage, kindly narrate how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the independent, desireless Lord of the three worlds and the controller of all energies, accepts incarnations and creates the cosmic manifestation with perfectly arranged regulative principles for its maintenance. Purport. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead from whom the three creative incarnations, namely the Purushavatāras, Karanarnavashai Vishnu, Garbhodakashai Vishnu and Kshirodakashai Vishnu expand. The whole material creation is conducted by the three Purushas in successive stages under the external energy of the Lord, and thus material nature is controlled by Him. Thinking material nature to be independent is like seeking milk from the nipple-like bags on the neck of a goat. The Lord is independent and desireless. He does not create the material world for His own satisfaction, as we create our household affairs to fulfill our material desires. Actually, the material world is created for the illusory enjoyment of the conditioned souls who have been against the transcendental service of the Lord since time immemorial. But the material universes are full in themselves. There is no scarcity for maintenance in the material world. Because of their poor fund of knowledge, the materialists are disturbed when there is an apparent increase of population on the earth. Whenever there is a living being on the earth, however, his subsistence is immediately arranged by the Lord. The other species of living entities who far outnumber human society are never disturbed for maintenance. They are never seen dying of starvation. It is only human society that is disturbed about the food situation, and to cover up the real fact of administrative mismanagement, take shelter in the plea that the population is excessively increasing. If there is any scarcity in the world, it is the scarcity of God consciousness. Otherwise, by the grace of the Lord, there is no scarcity of anything. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 3, Chapter 5 in the matter of Vidura's talks with Maitreya, Text 5. Omagyanatimirandasya gyananjana shlakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha Shri Caitanya manobishtam sthapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamahyam dadati swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Agriyatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana-saitam Krishna Caitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana-lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamaniti Namine Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Dhamdaya Nagragramatarine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Gopi Paranathanata Seti Namine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamaniti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubevacha Paridanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate giram yatkripatamaham bande Shri Guruntarinam yatkripatamaham bande Paramanandamadam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanchina smrite yasmin dushkaram sukram bhavet smrite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam. So here in this verse, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada has packed in a lot of essential information for us. This understanding that this material world is complete in itself, which Prabhupada also references from the Ishopanishad invocation, especially the Ishopanishad invocation that Prabhupada explains brilliantly. I'll read that out because it's a small purport, it's not a very big purport. But that explanation of the Ishopanishad invocation, this is the Upanishads, which means it's a part of the Vedas. That explanation, you may be surprised, is not shared by all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. When the Ishopanishad mantra says, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, idam, as we see in this particular text, also in other parts of the Upanishads, idam generally refers to this cosmic manifestation. So, there is one what should I call? A leader of one of the Gaudiya lines, a follower of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who was prominent at one point, and people may know. So he said that this idam does not refer to this material world. It refers to Vishnu Tattva expansions like Balaram. So some devotees outside of the Krishna consciousness movement, they think that this interpretation is faulty. But it's not faulty because Prabhupada explains it very well. And this is the same thing that we encounter here also in this verse and everywhere else. Generally, by grammatical considerations, idam generally does not refer to some Vishnu Tattva expansion. Now there could be some explanation by an acharya, where idam could also refer to a Vishnu Tattva expansion. I don't know, but the fact that however, idam does refer to this material world. So let's go to the Ishopanishad mantra to understand this purport a little bit more in detail, because it's the exact thing which is mentioned in this purport, which is also in the Ishopanishad, and Prabhupada gives a little bit more detailed explanation there, and we'll come back to this. So all of us, I'm sure, would know this Ishopanishad invocation mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamida Purnat Purnamidachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamema Vashishyate. Translation. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as the phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Purport. Please hear this attentively, because the Prabhupada makes a lot of interesting points here. Purport. The complete whole, or the supreme absolute truth, is the complete personality of Godhead. Realization of impersonal Brahman or of Paramatma super soul is incomplete realization of the absolute complete. So the absolute complete means Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. Realization of impersonal Brahman is the realization of his Sat feature or his aspect of eternity, and Paramatma realization is the realization of his Sat and Chit features, his aspects of eternity and knowledge. But realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of all the transcendental features, Sat, Chit and Ananda, bliss. When one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these aspects of the absolute truth in their completeness. Purnam. Vigraha means form. Thus the complete whole is not formless. And then Prabhupada says, if he were formless, or if he were less than his creation in any other way, he could not be complete. The complete whole must contain everything within and beyond our experience. So it should contain everything within our experience and also beyond our experience. Otherwise, he cannot be complete. Then he explains what it means to say the material world is also, idam, is also complete. The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potencies, all of which are as complete as he is. So all his potencies are as complete as he is. Thus this phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which this material world is a temporary manifestation are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. No other unit in the universe need make an extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe, which means it is self-subsistent. It's complete. The universe functions on its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole, and when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete whole. Complete arrangement of the complete whole. Very interesting the way Prabhupada elaborates this. Which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole, and when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated with the complete arrangement of the complete whole. Then he says, he speaks about our feeling of incompleteness. All facilities are given to the small complete units. The big complete unit, there are small complete units, namely the living beings, to enable them to realize the complete whole. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. The human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being, and it is obtained after evolving through 8,400,000 species of life in the cycle of birth and death. If in this human form of full consciousness, the living entity does not realize his completeness in relation to the complete whole, he loses the chance to realize his completeness and is again put into the evolutionary cycle by the law of material nature. So here he explains that Our completeness is in relation to the complete whole. Okay. Then he explains in the next paragraph, because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in nature for our maintenance, we make efforts to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. So the idea that we need to utilize the resources of nature to create a complete life is faulty. We don't need to do that, because the living entity cannot enjoy the life of the senses without being dovetailed with the complete whole. The misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. The hand of a body is a complete unit, and only as long as it is attached to the complete body. When the hand is severed from the body, it may appear like a hand, but it actually has none of the potencies of a hand. So Prabhupada explains that a living entity is complete, feels complete, when the living entity acts in relationship with the Supreme Lord, who is the complete whole. And if they are similarly living entities who are part and parcel of the complete whole, and if they are severed from the complete whole, the illusory representation of completeness cannot satisfy them. The completeness of human life can be realized only when one engages in the service of the complete whole. All services in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are dovetailed with the complete whole. When everything is dovetailed with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcels also become complete in themselves. So this is how Prabhupada explains completeness. And in today's purport, Prabhupada explains the same thing. And he concludes by saying, if there is any scarcity in the world, it is the scarcity of God consciousness. Otherwise, by the grace of the Lord, there is no scarcity of anything. Now, this is a very important philosophical point, that earlier we see that the Lord is independent and desireless. He does not create the material world for His own satisfaction, as we create our household affairs to fulfill material desires. So this entire realm of existence, the material world, is meant for the living entities to falsely attempt to become complete. So this whole thing is meant for the false attempt of the living entity. So there can be nothing right in this material world, in the sense that it is designed for a faulty endeavor. It is designed for a faulty endeavor. So there is nothing called right in this material world except Krishna consciousness. So that's why Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, good, bad, these are relative. In the material world, everything is bad because everything is faulty. Everything is meant for the faulty enjoyment of the conditioned living entity. In the sense, condition means the sense of incompleteness comes when the living entity thinks that it needs something. The living entity doesn't need anything, just like the Lord is desireless. So the living entity does not have to have family affairs, does not have to have any affair in this material world to feel complete. The only thing that the living entity needs to do is to engage in the service of the Lord. So it's a very important philosophical point that this whole material world is created for the faulty enjoyment or the concept of trying to become complete. When the spirit soul is already complete, it's still trying to become complete. So that is what causes frustration, trying to become complete through endeavors in the material world. Now, here Prabhupada says that this material world, everything is provided for the living entity. So when the living entity feels everything is provided, when the living entity sees everything in relation with the Supreme Lord. If the living entity does not see everything in relation with the Supreme Lord, then the concept of everything is provided does not appear in the consciousness. Then there is always a feeling of shortage. There's always feeling of trying to endeavor for different things. The whole Krishna consciousness movement is based on the premise. Prabhupada explains very nicely in a lecture. In the Krishna consciousness movement, we don't plan. We don't plan our lives. Krishna plans our lives. So, the moment we plan our lives, even if we are devotees, we try to plan our lives, we get entangled in the complexities of material nature. But Krishna has a plan for us. Krishna has a plan for us. When we try to find out what is it that Krishna wants me to do, what is it that Krishna wants me to do, then at every stage of one's life, one feels complete. One may experience distress. Like the devotees are not free from distress, but just like when there is hail and thunderstorm or whatever, big rain, you can't walk out without getting badly wet. But if you have a strong umbrella, then you can walk, even though there is a strong rain, there is hailstorm, whatever it may be. Of course, lightning is dangerous, but anyway, so I'm just talking about rainfall. So if you want to go somewhere, so you can still go if you have a strong umbrella, especially in Mayapur, many devotees, including me, we have a big umbrella because there are storms, it's difficult, heavy rain sometimes. But when we go in a big umbrella, you just walk and reach home or wherever you want to reach. So like that, devotees are not free from the distresses that come, but we have the umbrella of Krishna's mercy. So therefore, we don't get wet. So we don't get into the sense of incompleteness. Because when Lochandas Thakur sings that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us a process, he just appeared, he keeps appearing all the time, and he's appearing even at this point in time, right at this moment in some universe. So why does he appear? To give us a process which is Kevala Ananda Kanda, which is full of happiness. So if we take to that process, there is no point in time when one can feel some incompleteness or lack of happiness. If there is a lack of happiness, if there is a feeling of incompleteness, it is simply because we are not trying to understand what is the plan of the Lord and trying to align with the plan of the Lord. The moment, even theoretically we do that, immediately one feels a sense of relief. Immediately one becomes situated on the transcendental platform. Now, yes, all of us have conditionings. We may not be able to take full shelter of the Lord, in the sense that we may be distracted by the experiences that we go through, right? But all of us know, all of us have experienced that Krishna consciousness is the higher taste. Otherwise we wouldn't even be here. But it is not constant, right? So we have not come to the stage, I'm not saying about everybody, at least me. We may not have come to the stage of constant experience of higher taste. So there are glimpses of higher taste here, there, when we attend the Mangalarati or when we attend Kirtan or hear a Bhagavatam class, there are glimpses of taste. But the taste has not become consistent, So then we think, okay, we know it is higher taste, then why are we attracted to something which is inferior? We know it is incomplete, why are we attracted to that still? Because sense gratification is immediate and spontaneous, right? Because we've been conditioned in this material world, so sense gratification is immediate and It's immediate and it's spontaneous. But Krishna consciousness is not always immediate. You need to chant, at least attentively. So it's not just, okay, you just go and sit and just everything, that's it, Krishna conscious happiness you just experience. It's not like that. Whereas you need to chant attentively. You need to be attentive in the practice of Krishna consciousness to to experience that higher taste. Initially, it is a question of also the mind. Mind finds anything which is new attractive. Anything which is new is attractive for the mind. So when we initially take to Krishna consciousness is attractive because it's new for the mind. Apart from the spiritual experience, there is also a component of a mental experience which is new for the mind. But after a while, the newness of the mind vanishes. It's not new. Oh, I know Hare Krishna. I have heard Bhagavatam. I have associated with devotees. It's not new. What is new now? So then devotees invent their own ways of, sometimes concocted ways of new. Let me go to this place, a beautiful beach, and let me chant. These are because of the fact the mind needs something new. But instead of that, if we just focus on the fact that if we are attentive in our practice of Krishna consciousness, then we have to work for the taste. Initially the taste is coming by itself, just by the newness of the mind also, and also by Krishna's mercy. But as we practice Krishna consciousness, it is called sadhana bhakti, which means that we need to practice Krishna consciousness attentively. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, inattentive chanting is the root cause of all the problems that we experience. So when we chant attentively, then we become absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And when we become absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it builds. Absorption builds absorption. So as the absorption builds, then the higher taste is building. That's what it means, actually. So even though sense gratification is immediate and spontaneous, there is something else which is simultaneously building. So what happens when this higher taste builds is, as Prabhupada explains, the test of Krishna consciousness. The test of Krishna consciousness is that our attraction for Krishna should increase. Simultaneously, our attraction for material enjoyment, material ambitions, material desires, so many material things. Let me do something fantastic. So many different things. All these things decrease. I'm talking material ambitions. I'm not talking about Krishna conscious ambitions. So these decrease. And then, first of all, we come to the stage of insignificance. Okay, the spiritual taste is so high. So a material taste is decreasing. So eventually it becomes insignificant. And later on, it becomes abominable. It's abominable. In fact, and that's why the acharyas, when Prabhupada explains, in his lectures, he very nicely explains, in this world, there is only something called misery. There's nothing called happiness. Because the example is given that when, it's a Vedic example, when a man is dunked in water, he's suffering. When he's lifted out for a few moments, he feels a sense of happiness. Okay. And then again he's dunked. So if we examine the nature of happiness as a material world, there is no happiness which comes without some pain. Let's say, for example, if there's no hunger, you don't even feel like eating. Eating is a pleasurable activity. But if there is no hunger, there is no pleasure even in eating. So it is a misery, the urge of hunger which causes the pleasure of eating. Without misery, there cannot be happiness. So it is mitigation of the misery of hunger which is described as happiness. So therefore the acharyas explain that everything in this material world is designed for misery. When there is no misery, you feel happiness. You are trying to just mitigate misery, that's it. There is no factual happiness. The factual happiness can come only when the living entity tries to serve the Supreme Lord. So it is that service which brings the sense of completeness. And one important part of this purport that today the Prabhupada explains is that there is no shortage of anything in this world. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada was very fond of taking this from his Guru Maharaj. There's no shortage of anything in this world. There's no scarcity, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say. Only scarcity is Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada stressed on that so much throughout his books, that everything will be arranged by the Lord. The Lord has a plan for everybody. The Lord has a plan for everybody. Forget about devotees, even for non-devotees. The Lord has a plan. But for devotees, Prabhupada explained, just like the Prime Minister or the President of a country, he has his entourage, right? He is the President of the whole country. All citizens, he has a direct relationship with all the citizens, but he has a personal entourage. So all members of his entourage, he is taking care of them directly. So we are privileged to be the members of Lord Krishna's entourage, which means that Krishna is personally taking charge of our lives. He is personally planning for us. Otherwise it's explained that is Mahamaya, but here Yogamaya is planning. There's a plan. So it's already there. Just like we just need to unravel the plan. This is the perfect example that we find in Prabhupada's life. You don't see Prabhupada sitting and writing in his diary, in 1965 I will do this, 1967 I will do this, 73 I will do this. Nothing doing. What does he say? When he reaches the shores of America, he writes a poem. I am a puppet in your hands. So Krishna, please make me dance as you want me to dance. Please make the power of my speaking suitable for their understanding. So this whole plan making is a feature of this material world. Krishna consciousness is the feature of Krishna consciousness, plan revealing. We want to understand what is Krishna's plan for us. And the moment we do that, then we are always happy. When we make our own plans, then we experience incompleteness, right? Because Krishna has already made a plan. Why not try to figure out what that plan is? When we do that, then we get the sense of completeness. Of course, Prabhupada here speaks about starvation. There's no starvation. He says so many living entities are there and nobody starves. And then Prabhupada explains in one lecture, it's very humorous, where he says, yes, all the animals are taken care of, the dogs and all that. Then suddenly he pauses and says, but in the cities the dogs may not be taken care. He says because city is a human creation. So there the dog may suffer. But what God has created, there no living entity suffers. So we may create some obstacle for the maintenance of a dog. But in Krishna's creation there is no such thing. So that is caused by human intervention. Like here also he says this, that it is only human society that is disturbed of the food situation, and to cover up the real fact of administrative management, take shelter in the plea that the population is excessively increasing. And one more thing that I wanted to mention was that thinking material nature to be independent is like seeking milk from the nipple-like bags on the neck of a goat. Prabhupada explains this, that material nature is intricately linked to the Supreme Lord. It is not independent. It is functioning under His will. And it is especially relevant for us when we are in this material world. Because this world is a world where there is matter and there is spirit, and there is interaction between matter and spirit. So, for example, take this for example. This verse where it speaks about the three Puruṣāvatāras. Now, how do we, literally, material nature is not independent of the Supreme Lord. I'll show you how literally it is not independent. Take for example, the Garbhodakasha ocean, where the Lord is lying in the ocean and there is a lotus which springs from his navel. And where are the planetary systems? Planetary systems are on the stem of the lotus. Stem is coming from the Lord who is fully transcendental. It's coming from his navel. Now, is the stem material or spiritual? I don't know. We can't know. Because how does it work? Because all the material worlds are living in this, on that stem. All the material universes, all the material planetary systems are situated on that. There are many such Garbhodakasha Vishnus, but in our particular universe, the stem, all the planetary systems are situated on that stem. So is it material, spiritual? Planets are material, but the stem is coming from the navel of Vishnu. Is it material? Is it spiritual? We can't know. So therefore, in this material world, the attempt to distinguish this is material, this is spiritual, that is illusory. Prabhupada explained this very clearly, that there are different kinds of energy, but the pure devotee sees everything in relationship with the Supreme Lord. And therefore, even the material energy is considered spiritual, although it functions differently. It is not conscious. But even the material energy is considered spiritual for a pure devotee because he sees everything in relation with the Supreme Lord. Which also means that the body of a pure devotee is also spiritual. His mind is spiritual, his intelligence is spiritual, nothing is material. So from our perspective, from our conditioning, if we look at the body of a pure devotee, we may think it is material. But it's not. Therefore, Nectar of Instruction says, do not consider the body of a pure devotee to be material. It is spiritual. And that means including his mind and intelligence. It means including the mind and including his mind and intelligence. So, when we look at the Lord and we look at the pure devotees, we should see them as manifestations of Krishna's mercy. Of course, Krishna himself. And when we look at the pure devotee, you see manifestation of Krishna's mercy. So, the point that I was trying to make is that we, in this material world, especially in the endeavor of science, there is this whole thing about trying to analyze. So our process is, we don't try to analyze, we try to surrender. And when we try to surrender, Krishna reveals. This is how it is. This is how it is. So, in modern age, especially in the age of the internet, there has been, I mean, it never used to be in the time that I took to Krishna consciousness. Nobody would ever say, oh, Prabhupada made some mistake here, there, or some managerial thing. Or nobody would say these kind of things. But with the age of the internet, with social media, there has been a certain influence where even devotees think that Prabhupada is spiritually, everything he gave perfectly, but materially there may be some things wrong. So that's again the tendency of trying to see things separately from Krishna, and because of which it could lead to so many different problems, and it's already led to so many different problems. Okay, so the point that I'm trying to make is Prabhupada says here, thinking material nature to be independent is seeking milk from the nipple-like bags on the neck of a goat. It's not. It's not. And for our minds, we may not be able to always understand how it is. Doesn't matter. They are not separate. We just have to accept, and our whole process is when we accept, when we please Krishna, Krishna reveals. Therefore, in ISKCON, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Prabhupada instituted the samsara prayers to hammer the point that the last verse is Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasado. Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dhyayan stuvam tasya yashasri sandhyam vande guru shri charanaravindam. That without pleasing Srila Prabhupada, without pleasing this Vaishnavas, without pleasing the Acharyas, nothing can be achieved. When they are pleased, then everything is revealed. So our process is a process of revelation. And it applies in every aspect of Krishna consciousness, including our lives. Which means that we have to try to understand what Krishna's plan is for our life. And when we try to understand what is Krishna's plan for our life, then all the feelings of incompleteness vanishes. And I'll end on the note of Gaur Purnima, where this time for Gaur Purnima, we had Chaitanya Charitamrita distributed extensively. The first time that whole 1 hour before the Abhishek began, there is extensive distribution of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is a special feature of the Sankirtan movement. That we have an opportunity which we cannot get in the spiritual world, yet it is a manifestation of a feature in the spiritual world. How is that? I mean, this is a very, sometimes ISKCON is criticized as institutional, what is this, book distribution, commercial, and things like that. But Rameshwar Prabhu is not here. He was here for many months. Has he left Mayapur? Anyway, he usually comes for the Bhagavatam class. Probably is not in Mayapur. So he gave a class during Prabhupada's time. And he said how the highest activity in the Krishna consciousness movement is to go out onto the streets, meet people, distribute Krishna consciousness by distributing books. And he said, this is Nikunja Yuno Ratikeli Siddhai. And there was one proper disciple, a Mataji, who was a little confused. Now I'm not very sure, is this the interpretation of Nikunja Yuno Ratikeli Siddhai? And for as far as this material world is concerned, because Nikunja Yuno also happens in the spiritual world, but is that the interpretation of this material world? And when she wrote a letter to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada replied by saying, yes, he has spoken correctly. Now I just want to, end by just reading out what Shivaram Maharaj wrote to his book distributors at the end of one book distribution marathon. It's very illuminating that the kind of opportunity that we have in this material world. This is in the year 2007 that he wrote this to his book distributors. Someone asked how it was that absorption in book distribution is like meditation on Krishna's eightfold daily pastimes, and how book distribution can lead to serving Radhesham and Vraj. The essence to this answer is to understand that Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Radha Krishna. Thus, service to Lord Krishna by Sankirtan is service to Radha Krishna in the Kunjas, and meditating on how to distribute books is meditating on Ashtakaliya. The difference is that Sankirtan Seva is the manifested form of Kunja Seva, and it is easily available to practicing devotees as well as perfected devotees. When practicing devotees' hearts are purified by preaching, they are fully qualified for meditation on the eightfold pastimes of Radha Krishna's service in Vraja. The gopis walk through torrential rain at night, braving dangerous snakes, all to meet Krishna. Sankirtana devotees distribute in the cold and brave the insults of non-devotees, all to serve Gauranga. There is no difference. I want to make a small point here. If you take books and distribute them at the airport, reach 4 hours before. Distribute them at the airport. I guarantee you will get the price for your ticket. For sure. It's a very fertile place for distributing books. Sankirtan devotees distribute in the cold and brave the insults of non-devotees, all to serve Gauranga. There is no difference. The gopis dance and chant by the banks of the Yamuna. We dance and chant in the temple room. No difference. And the gopis serve Radha and Krishna by fanning and singing, and we by distributing books and talking about Krishna. When the gopis bring, it's very interesting how he ends this purport because connected to this verse today. When the gopis bring a new gopi to serve the divine couple to increase the sphere of loving exchanges, then Krishna asks, who is that new gopi? Sri Radha then answers, she is such and such who has been brought here by our dear servant. Then as a reward, Radha and Krishna cast loving glances at that gopi who recruited the new servant. And that is our preaching. When we distribute a book, people read them and enter into Krishna's family. That is real Kunja Seva. Then Gauranga, Radha Krishna, glance very pleasingly at the preacher, and the collective effect of those glances will be to manifest his or her spiritual form. This is the connection between book distribution and service to Radhesham. So distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Only 2.5 days left. He's talking 2007. With each book, Radhesham cast a glance your way. Then he says, look at this, by one such glance, millions of universes are created. What then can be said of the wealth of a preacher? So here it is. So if we want to feel no scarcity, we need to practice and preach. Make the whole world feel the absence of scarcity by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. I'll stop there. I think there are only a few minutes for some comments or questions. Yes, please.
we are individual souls, and we feel incomplete unless and until we are connected to Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna, on the other hand, he is completely independent. He's desireless.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
he's complete. He doesn't need a connection with us to feel complete.
Yeah.
He's already complete.
Yeah.
So my question is then, why does he incarnate himself again and again to bring us back to the spiritual world? Because he's complete, right?
Yes.
He's desireless.
Yes.
So this desire, there is a desire to bring us back to the spiritual world, right? Without that, he will not incarnate himself. So my question is then, when the term desireless is used, how do we understand that in light of the fact that he incarnates himself again and again to bring us back to the spiritual world?
It basically means that here, as Prabhupada explains, he has nothing to gain from that. That's the understanding that Prabhupada explains consistently. He has nothing to get. He has nothing to get. We have something to get. He has nothing to get. He has only to reciprocate. He's only doing it for our pleasure of the devotees. He has nothing to get, actually. That's the meaning. Yes, Maji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a wonderful class. Prabhuji, can you please explain similarity or difference of Harinam Sankirtan, chanting on the street, and this book distribution, please?
There are two different manifestations of the same thing. Prabhupada explains that the books are the Brihat Mridanga. Sankirtan is limited to the geographical area that you are in. Whereas the Brihat Mridanga can go to all the places. You can send that from here to somewhere else. Like that's the only thing. When you do Sankirtan, it is for the people who are there in that particular geographical location. Whereas Prabhupada called the books the Brihat Mridanga, which means that it can travel. Okay. Yeah, but we don't have the potency to make it go around the planet. When Prabhupada chants, it goes around the planet. When Haridas Thakur chants, it goes around the planet. When we chant, it doesn't. Unless we attain Prema Bhakti. So we can send the Brihat Mridanga, which is Prabhupada's vibration anyway. So it can. Okay, I think we'll have to stop here because it's already time. You can meet me separately if you want. Thank you. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Vindayo namo namaha. Aslishava padaratam pinashtamam. Adarshanan marmahatam karotu va. Yathā tathā va vidhatte lampata.